I want to tell everyone what we're doing today. I think
What
we're
are we
trying. I think we're trying a little different format. I think we like the format of stories, quick, sharp, funny stories. And we decided that we want to do that and trying to do this today. So we'll tell you a couple of interesting facts that we found during the week. We'll probably,
Stories of interest.
Stories of interest. And then we'll probably go deeper on one, have a little deeper discussion on that, and then finish off with a couple more light stories just to entertain you guys.
Just so it's not like all the time.
See, this is the thing that he does all the time. This is going to be through episodes
Because I'm
on
Debbie
episodes
Downer.
on episodes. See you later and have a look, brother. Bye. Hi everyone, this is Cass and Jamie in the middle of Cass and Jamie.
Hey guys, how are you?
I hope everyone's doing well, and well, we're back here and decided to bring you more interesting topics that we found through the whole couple of weeks, right? A week. I've lost track of time. What is it? What? I don't know.
Oh, you've been on a trip.
I have, yes, jet lagged and all the rest of it.
Yep. How was your trip? Do you have a good time?
Yeah, it was a great time. I enjoyed it, and hopefully I've shot a couple of videos, so we'll be able to share them.
Good.
With everyone soon.
Look forward to seeing them.
Yes.
I haven't seen them yet.
Yeah,
so
you haven't seen them. I haven't even
looking
showed you a little bit. Yeah. Do you want to do your usual spiel about subscribe, hit the bell, and all that lovely stuff?
By the way, folks, don't forget to hit subscribe and that bell so you'll be notified when we have a new episode out.
There you go. Thank you very much. I think you do such a great job at it. I can't even do it.
I can't ever remember to do it. I keep forgetting.
Well, I gave you a hint, a suggestion, a reminder.
Wink, wink, nod, nod. Boom, do it. Okay.
Listen, this week has been full of funny, interesting things. First of all, let me tell you this. I found a very interesting story, very fascinating. Two women have been friends for a long time.
It's a great opening line. There's like two women.
Two women have been friends for a long time. They met at the job. They were working both in a restaurant, and they became friends. They hit it off. They felt like there was there's a really good connection there. And later on, almost 9 years later, they found out that they're biological sisters. Imagine that. So both of them got adopted, and somehow life just so happened that they came to the same place to work at the same time. And it turns out later on that they found out that their biological father did tell one of the sisters that, yes, in fact, you have another sibling. And then it turns out that they have not only that sibling, they have another 7. So they've grown. The whole family has grown. I thought it was very sweet.
Daddy was busy, but anyway, I was. but the thing is, it's so weird. But things happen for a reason. I do believe in that, and so it's really kind of a fascinating story how these things happen in life, and what were the chances of 1 in a billion?
I can't even imagine that being that having them being adopted in the same area or place.
Were they adopted in the same area?
Well, the story doesn't really tell us whether they were adopted in the same, but they somehow were in the same area later on in their life.
Did they know that they were adopted?
Yes, they knew that they were adopted. They
Okay.
knew that they were adopted, but they didn't know that they had any other siblings.
It's been very fascinating. I have friends who were adopted, and they've done the 21andMe and all some of those other tests and so forth, and they have found their biological families.
Oh wow!
Which in some cases it's a great thing and it's very interesting. But I think for the most part, while it kind of answers some questions for them and fills in some blanks for them. For the most part, obviously that the biological parents didn't have anything to do with their bringing up, and so they're obviously so much more connected to their adopted families and so forth, because that's it's a lot more to being a father and a mother besides just giving birth. It's true. It is true. Yes. Entire thing. So anyway.
But that brings us to another very interesting topic, which I think would be amazing if you bring it to our attention, because I think I'm not going to be able to contain myself from laughter. But maybe you can.
Taterhead. Okay, so Mr. Protector Hasbro pending that announcement.
I think that's so hilarious. I
Yeah.
can't even keep a straight face.
Mr. Potato Head, who is an iconic toy from most Americans' childhood since the 1950s. Hasbro announced the other day that they were going to be dropping the Mr. and it's just going to be Potato Head, which is kind of ridiculous.
Oh my God, seriously, that's just ridiculous.
I know. I mean, they did
What
backtrack
has
on that.
Mr. done to them?
I know, and there was always a Mrs. Potato Head. I mean, it wasn't like there was only the Mr. Potato Head. You had to be the male.
Do you, in English language, potato doesn't have a gender,
No,
right?
we don't have gender.
In Russian,
gender
actually,
words.
potato has gender. Potato is female.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Well, then Mrs. Potato Head is more appropriate for you. Anyway, but Hasbro, pulled back after they got some backlash on this. They pulled back and said, no, we're not getting rid of Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head, but we're going to have Potato Head.
Reintroducing a potato head.
But to me, it's just another one of those conversations that's going a little bit too far, and we're becoming so sensitive on everything else rather than really focusing on issues that are really important to people right now and in people's lives. We're getting distracted by issues and so forth.
But it came right in time. Sorry to interrupt you, but it came right in time, or it's sort of correlated with the executive order for the Equality Act changes that Biden has
signed the other day.
Yeah,
and I appreciate and applaud the movement towards equality. I mean, being a gay man myself, I mean, obviously we've made some advances in the last few years that I never did think that we would have in our lifetime. That I am, I'm very appreciative of. At the same time, I'll point blank say, look, I'm a gay man, but I don't understand the whole transgender thing. And and of course they've got everybody's lumped into the LGBTQI alphabet soup thing, and I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying that it's apples and oranges. But here, as far as gender identification and sexual orientation, but it's okay to not understand, because even though I don't understand transgender, doesn't mean that. That I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm transphobic. It just means that I don't understand. I mean, it's okay not to understand. I think a lot of people aren't allowed to understand things. And one of the big debates that's coming up with the issues that came out of the executive order, which were really some great
because the idea of the executive order is really to sort of protect the
basic rights.
And prohibit
housing,
discrimination,
job security, those
right.
things. Those things, the things that I've always said were extraordinarily important to the community, and the things that we needed to focus on, rather than being distracted by some issues that are a little bit more.
But it raised that question, right? The question, the actual question that we wanted to sort of get into a little bit into is really the fact that the trans women and trans men and trans girls and trans boys are allowed to participate in the sports.
I'm all for
So say, for instance, trans women and trans girls can be part of be part of women's teams,
right?
Or compete with women along lines with them. And I think that for instance, NCAA and the Olympics, the Olympic committee have narrowed it down. The NCAA says you have to have a year. They have their parameters, and then they've done it before, and it's quite clear what you have to do. You have to go through hormonal treatment. It's a year for NCAA, and it's anything up to 4 years for the Olympics, participation in the Olympic team. But the question, really bigger question here is the high school kids, is the younger generation.
Right.
Those are the ones who haven't yet gone through any of those hormonal changes. They haven't done any.
And what if they change their minds later on? I mean, there's a lot of questions to go through this for me as a gay man, as a grandparent of a grandson. In having friends who are very super liberal, that even they are going, I don't know. So I don't know how I feel about a trans girl coming into my son's locker room and changing clothes, because ultimately they are still physically a girl, no matter what. I mean, and vice versa. And so it is not just a conservative argument. I mean, some of my most liberal friends are going, I'm not so comfortable with this. And so it brings up a lot of emotions, because you're dealing with people's children, and you're also dealing with fairness. And a sense of fairness is not transphobic. I mean, and I think that's what we're all trying to get to here.
Well, yeah,
is
because
a
at the
sense
end of the
fairness.
day, we want to know, for instance, if my daughter will be competing alongside a former Jonathan, who is now Joanne,
Right. And
and-
who's regulating
who-
who's
who-
regulating this and who's testing this and who's doing? I mean, it becomes
and it's
a
difficult, definitely, if this Jonathan has been an athlete previously,
Right.
then decides that he wants to be seen as a girl.
and that's fine. I mean, if that's
Which
what
is
they
fine.
want,
But then he comes and joins this, track and field team, and my daughter, who is applying for scholarship at the same college as Joanne now, it
and
doesn't
Joanne
seem
wins,
to be
or it
in the
throws off the
same-
entire metrics of
Yeah. So
rankings.
I
and so
think
forth.
that's the bigger question,
So-
because I think at the beginning, when I started looking into it, at first I was like, this doesn't make sense. This is really shit. I looked at, and I'm okay with the whole higher when they're adults and sort of more mature decisions are made. People are changing themselves and doing it sort of with going into it, understanding what they're doing. I think the younger generation, then that throws the whole fairness into the whole game.
Well-
How is that equality? Where is that equality playing a role for my daughter who's competing with,
Right.
5 minutes ago boy?
Why is it become all of a sudden you're worried about one small group's fairness only, and you're excluding everybody else's, the majority of people's fairness for them?
You've mentioned several times the numbers of those transgender boys and girls, women and men, is not that substantial yet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, substantial enough for it to raise national questions across the whole nation, and so questions especially for those ladies that are going to be applying for, I don't know, athletic scholarships
how
in
many-
colleges, and then they have John, formerly known,
Right.
or Joanna, formerly known as John, who hasn't gone through any hormonal changes, hasn't gone through any physical changes, and then yet he, has that physical attributes of a man.
I just think it's a very complicated issue. I think that it's something that's going to take some time to resolve. I think that I don't think that it's fair for a girl to have to compete against somebody that has had a young girl to compete against a young boy that is now identifying as a female, and maybe is taking some kind of treatment or something, or does have some attributes. But I think that trying to find a sense of fair play is not being transphobic. I think trying to find a sense of how to balance this out in a fair way that's fair for everybody is the best way, rather than just to say, oh, well, you have to accept these competitors against you because they've decided.
That's
or
just life as a bitch.
But they've decided that they're going to transition and so forth, and they're having to compete against someone that may or may not have an unfair advantage. I don't think that we have the full answers to that yet.
Well, and so what you're saying, that they're jumping into this, that that there's not enough information, there's not enough research, there's not enough, they haven't thought this through. Is that what you're saying?
I think
from what I'm seeing, and sorry, let me just finish quickly. From what I'm seeing in sense of more closer to, more, not professional, but closer to professional sports, it seems like they have nailed it down. And this is, you have to go through the changes. This is how many years you have to make sure that you've done and whatever, which then makes sense. But with the younger, generation, I think that from what I'm hearing from your argument, they haven't really thought it through, haven't really figured it out. And obviously, from what I understand from the executive order, it's really down to individual colleges themselves to make a ruling on that and to make the rules within their college of how they're going to deal with it, which I think is very unfair, because me and you two adults are trying to figure it out, and it's not a clear-cut situation.
Well, I think that there's going to be some repercussions from this that are going to percolate up, and I think that it's almost like you're getting to the tyranny of the minority. I mean, it's all these things that are just so one-sided and were a fringe in many ways. And I'm not for excluding anybody, but at the same time, you can't make it unfair for the majority just because a small minority wants to participating.
But then they're going to say the same to you. I'm sorry, hold on. Why do we always have to think about the majority? What happens to the minority? We've never been thought about. We've never been looked at. We've never been considered. They have an argument. You know, they're going to go for it, and they've gone so far with it. Obviously, they're succeeding in it. And if it reached to this point.
I'm all for fairness, but I'm for fairness across the board. I don't think that it should be fairness which should be shifted from one side to the other. If we're truly interested in fairness, we need to find fairness that's fair for everyone, not just for a majority or a minority. So, shifting ourselves and finding a common ground, a commonality. I don't know if it's just setting up a difference. Like you have men's sports, women's sports, trans sports. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't think anybody out there has the answer either. I think that we're all having to have this conversation, but I think that's one of the reasons why we're having the conversation, because a lot of people are frustrated by the debate, because it seems like if you even ask a question, if you even have the audacity to raise a question about any of this, then you're shot down as, oh, you're transphobic, you're homophobic, you're xenophobic, you're racist, you're sexist, you're this or that. I don't know. I mean, you've got to have these conversations. You've got to stop having, this shut up and sit down, Waldo, kind of attitude.
But I also think that
people need to understand, because if people understand, you get buy-in.
But I also think that a lot of what happens, because and why a lot of questions are being raised, is because a lot of people don't actually, in fact, understand the nuances of it.
Right.
But listen, I think this has been. I think we definitely need to. I think we need to get a guest, and I think get a guest that would be able to tell us where we are with this and what we want, and the question really there should be to them to explain to us in broad strokes what it is and give us the details. And I think that's very, very important. I think we should look for that guest. And I think we've actually had somebody in mind.
We should bring in a guest. I mean, just us two assholes here talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I mean, I have my opinion, but we're not actually somebody that's going through this, and so I would like to hear about that. But I would like to say, just because fair play is not transphobic, and so that is, and that goes for everything. I mean, fair play is not transphobic, it's not homophobic, it's not racist, it's not sexist, it's fair play. If we're all really truly working for and trying to find fair play and even playing field for everyone around, it has to be a fair and even playing field for everyone, not just one gender, one race, it has to be across the board.
I agree.
Moving.
But listen, how fair was it that a sheep got lost somewhere and then comes out, carries 77 pounds of wool
Can you
on
imagine
him? I have no idea.
I'm surprised he didn't die of heat exhaustion, especially in Australia.
I know. That's insane.
It's the driest continent.
77 pounds.
I mean,
oh my God. I think that, the muscles on that sheep must have been crazy.
Yeah.
But obviously the sheep got lost. 77 pounds of wool he was carrying. I love the name of the sheep, Barak. I thought that was cute. Obviously, that's not how they pronounce it in Australia.
77 pounds of wool, but only 20 pounds of sheep.
And the sheep, skinny, and they had to put some blanket clothing on it to make sure, to make sure
it didn't die.
Because it was just. And then imagine the crab, the insects that lived in there. Ooh, I can't even.
It was a matted up mess. It made me hot just looking at it.
Yeah.
And also I was like, God, but the thing stinks.
Yes.
It's just like that's all I can think of. Like, so.
But can I also tell you another funny story about a cat?
Tell me a funny story.
About a cat in a plane. But I think you should tell
Cats
it.
in a plane. Is that
guy.
like snakes in a plane? It's like that.
Ooh, please don't mention snakes. I hate snakes. Really not big.
Cats.
Well, not
I really
as
don't
much
hate
as
I really
not
don't
as
hate
much.
cats. David hates cats. I
As
like
much
cats.
as snakes.
We always hate cats. But anyway, I don't like cats in my cockpit.
So
there's this cat that
in Sudan was it, right?
Yeah, Sudan.
So weird.
Now this feral cat that had gotten into a cockpit, and so after they take it off, the cat attacks the pilot. I'm like, what the hell?
I think they should make a movie, or at least make a horror movie part of it.
It reminds me of that scene from The Grinch, like when the cat flew his face. And so, but but what scares me the most about it is like not only was it's just a feral cat that got into the plane. Well, I mean, the cat's crawling around. I'm sure defecating and urinating everywhere else. But at the same time, crawling up in the wires and everything. Who knew? God knows what he had disconnected on the plane. But the thing is that the security is really, really tight at this airport because if you had a cat just randomly.
Well, I think the plane was on the parking. It was sort of standing there waiting to be cleaned and whatnot.
Well,
so I'm guessing
what else
they
got
forgot
on the plane?
to close the door for crying out loud. Don't leave your doors open in Sudan Airport. Right, you might get cat come in.
Yeah, it's like who else? What else got on the plane? It could be something really, really, really bad. So anyway, the story ended well, but I don't know how it ended for the cat. I guess it's
on a travel story. I think we need to finish this one with something that made me tear up and also in giggles. I was laughing out loud. This is about the Russian diplomats that were trying to get to Russia from North Korea. Now, obviously, due to COVID, North Korea has closed all borders, and they have
even for foreign diplomats trying to get out, which I found very fascinating. It's like, you can't, your own country, home country can't get you out. That's like,
no, and so basically, after almost a year in this COVID situation, the third secretary of the Russian embassy in North Korea then decides that him and his family, and I think a few other families, were going to go back home. And it took them 36 hours because it was some weird train ride to closer to the border. Then it was a bus. And the last sort of 2 kilometers or something had to be on a cart, which is like in the movie. Do you remember the cartoons? And so the youngest passenger there was this Mr. Sokol, I think his name is Sokolov, and his daughter Varya, she's 3. She's the youngest passenger on this trip. But 34
she got the last mile.
She was the one pushing the last mile, yes. And then finally
tough crowd.
Yeah, finally they were met on the Russian side, and where they crossed the river Tyumen and then taken to the airport in Vladivostok. And I think from there on it was a more civil kind of travel.
I hope they didn't have to do the push cart all the way to Moscow. And like, oh my God.
In the 21st century, I think that was absolutely fascinating story. Amongst, all the ones today, but, Mr. Potato Head, we've got to really sort of wrap it up.
We're getting the hook. So, anyway, thanks, guys. Again, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell to be reminded whenever we have a new episode coming up. So anyway, we got it back in. I won't get beaten tonight for not saying it twice. So thanks, guys, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.